Rodrigo, thank you very much for presenting at Coaltrans India this year. Could you please tell us a bit about yourself and Noble as well?
Thanks for having me. Well, my full name is Rodrigo Echeverri. I know that's hard for most people to say. Most people know me from 15 years of being in the coal industry, mostly on the producer side in Cerrejón and Adaro. And I've been 2.5 years at Noble, where I'm now the head of research for all hard commodities. So that includes a lot of the steel materials, and it also includes coking coal and thermal coal. So I'm having a lot of fun at the moment.
And you're quite bullish compared to most of our speakers. What are you seeing that others aren't?
I tend to be more bullish than most people. I guess it's the Latin American blood. But I think most of the disagreement comes from I'm probably being more skeptical on the growth numbers in production in India. So that seems to be, I've been thinking about this since yesterday, because there's been a number of people that have come to me to express some level of, obviously, buyers telling me why they are not so optimistic about the market. But I have isolated the source of disagreement to the production numbers in India. So there was a decline in production output in terms of growth for Coal India, basically over the last 3 years. So I did take that as a trend. We saw about 2% growth last year. And I was saying, well, the main source for my number in India, which is a 15 year-on-year growth for imports, is based on the possibility of Coal India growing only 2 or 3% this year. And most buyers are actually assuming that growth will be around 7 to 10%, which I believe is a bit too aggressive, and it's actually never been done before. So that's the disagreement.
Okay. And from a global perspective, what do you think are the key trends in 2018?
We see a lot of synchronized strength in the markets. We see a lot of restocking of materials in China. I do have to admit that my China view, my India view, tend to be a bit stronger than most people's. I just think that the market is being conservative when they assume that there's going to be a slowdown in China and India in the second half of this year. That seems to be sort of the consensus view, mostly on the steel markets. The source of disagreement there for me is, in the example of China, in the case of China, would be that I don't see demand for Chinese products actually declining in the second half. So if global economy is growing at the level that we're seeing, the markets are reflecting that. I see strength for China exports going to all sorts of materials, right? Heavy industry, etc. So I see industrial production in China being strong this year. Same for India. So we are seeing that in India, the strength in the steel sector is very clear, right? The numbers tell it. The cement production numbers actually tell the story. So there is really a story across the figures that you have to acknowledge, and it's a global picture. And it includes China, and I'm trying to convince the Indians that it includes India, right? So they are invited to participate in a global strong economy, and I'm asking, trying to ask people why they think there's going to be an exception in India, and we are not going to see the same trend here as we are seeing in all other countries in Asia.
And also, as mentioned, you're quite bullish. So what do you think are the downside risks for coal?
Well, in general, really the driver in the case of China, right? It's unavoidable to talk about China. The driver has been the strength of economic growth. If anything happens to that assumption, yes, I mean, that is the main risk to my whole balance is a slowdown in economic performance in China in the second half of this year. I do not think that there is time, or there is the possibility that we'll see a slowdown before the middle of this year. But yeah, the risk would be, a reasonable risk would be that GDP growth or industrial production growth in China slows down. I actually tend to have a harder time thinking of a slowdown in India than I do in China, because I think India has got a lot of momentum, and I think this is the time for India to be bullish. I mean, I'm having a hard time being convinced that I should not be bullish in India. It's just a fantastic moment for them to shine.
Rodrigo, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.